13 babysitting 𝐿𝐷 I am so serious right now, 𝐊𝐿𝐷 replied, staring at the sparks. Noah and his father could best be described by the like father like son ideology. As a matter of fact, they abused it. If Noah ever wondered how he would look in the future, he need only look at his dad, because it was clear all his genes came from him. His father was thick and buff, the type of guys you would expect to bend steel with the edge of his pinky. Michael, as he was called, could totally pass for a boxer. What do you think, Noah? Should we consider the acting career? Questioned his father, but 𝐊𝐿𝐷 could see the hilarity in his eyes. 𝐊𝐿𝐷 joined them in their laughter. You hear them. Even their laughter has the same obnoxiousness, pointed out Samantha Nantano's mother, which made 𝐊𝐿𝐷 laugh even harder as she realized it was true. Samantha, unlike her husband and son, had an no-nonsense attitude. 𝐊𝐿𝐷 marveled at how well she and Michael proved the whole opposites attract. Her keen eyes reminded 𝐊𝐿𝐷 that she was Sebastian's aunt. The reason why Kristen had called Noah her cousin earlier at the diner. She wondered if everyone in the household was related, which would explain why they all lived together. Time to go. The voice was deep and clear. 𝐊𝐿𝐷 turned to see whose voice could be full of such authority. When she saw him, there was no need for introductions. Just by looking at him, she already knew who he was. His tall stance and proud shoulders were unmistakable. It was Sebastian's father, and he was every bit as handsome and extraordinary as she expected him to be. A handsome father and a beautiful mother. It's no wonder Sebastian is so gorgeous. You heard Papa's orders. Let's go, said Jordan, leading a large group of boys at the front door. 𝐊𝐿𝐷 wondered where they had all come from. Surely she had not seen any of them when she entered the house. How many other people live here who I didn't meet? Apparently many, for it seemed adult. Teens and children alike appeared out of different corners of the house and went outside. 𝐊𝐿𝐷 asked herself 3 things. 1. How the heck did they fit in the house? 2. How did they all hear Papasaurus' command? And 3. Was Saurus really his name? It sounded like a dinosaur. 𝐊𝐷𝐷 𝐂𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 In a matter of few steps his long legs managed to cover a considerable distance. "Hello, Massey. My wife has informed me of you." He took out his hand and Massey gladly shook it. As expected, it was strong and firm. "My name is Samuel, but the young ones have a habit of calling me Papasaurus. You may call me either. Pleased to meet you." Massey smiled widely in return. She couldn't help but notice how much his son inherited father. The monotone voice, his controlled movements, and of course those legendary pieces of gold. "I'm happy to finally meet 𝐨𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐵's dad. He inherited a lot of things from you." The corners of his lips quirked upwards at seeing her bright smile. "All good things, I'm sure. Don't flatter yourself, honey," said Mia. Overhearing their conversation, she came up beside her husband and gave him a chaste kiss on the cheek. Massey noticed his eyes soften at the view of his wife. "Oh yeah, she's got him wrapped tight." Samuel quirked a brow. "And that means?" Mia giggled. "Not all of your traits are great." She turned her attention to Massey. "You'll need more than the average Hannah to break that ice," she clarified, referring to her son. "His father was exactly the same when I met him. And to think he actually hated me before I even spoke a word to him." With her curiosity piqued, Massey asked, "How did you two fall in love then?" "Oh, it's the funniest thing, I must tell you." Her husband sighed Mia. Yet Massey could see a hint of blush on his cheeks. Clearly, this was not one of his preferred topics. "However, the story is much too long to tell you now, but he'll definitely make time to tell you. And who knows, maybe you'll talk some more to my Sebby. My son is very handsome. Is he not?" Massey laughed. Yup, she was completely certain Mia wanted her and Sebastian together. She wondered what on earth she had done to make Mia think so highly of her in such a short amount of time. "Everyone is ready," informed Sebastian. He was at the front entrance of the house. wearing loose faded jeans and a top that did wonderful things to his biceps. Oh, where has the oxygen left? Very well. Samuel gave her a farewell nod and left for the door, while his wife gave her a kiss on the cheek and a wink before closing the door behind her, leaving Marcy alone with only James' 8-year-old sister as company. Marcy sighed. Content. She turned to the couch, where the brown-haired girl lounged patiently. Time to see how scary the little angel could be. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷. Haley giggled as she watched the potato skin fall on the counter as Massey peeled the vegetable. It was obvious Massey had no great experience when it came to peeling. Well, everything. As she looked at the counter, she joined Haley, noticing there was probably more potato than the skin itself. I think we'll be needing more potatoes for our French fries, commented Massey, astonished at how a potato that was larger than her hand ended up being half its original size. Do you cook often? Haley questioned, grabbing a couple more potatoes. Not really, Massey admitted, shaking her head. She was not one for cooking unless you consider the basics like eggs with ham. It's the reason why when Haley said she was hungry and suggested to make French fries with fried chicken, Massey was surprised she didn't see a bag of said things that needed only a fryer to have them ready. Apparently, the family cooked everything by hand. It explained the advanced kitchen with numerous spices she had never even heard of. I do. Jaden has been teaching me how to cook because he says I'll be helping him in the kitchen when I'm old enough to work at the diner. He says I'm really good, Haley said, proud. In that case, Massey supplied her with a knife. You can help me peel the potatoes. Be careful though. I don't want you to get cut. Haley nodded, clearly glad she was able to help. By the time Massey got to her third potato, she was happy she had gotten the hang of it. However, at seeing Haley's work, her steam plummeted. Not only did the girl peel perfectly, but she did it faster too. Could anyone see how sad this was? Grabbing her fourth, Massey tried to match Haley's speed. This isn't so bad. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Massey hurried to the sink to run water on her cut. Thankfully the cut was small, but as she got a closer look she noticed it was deeper than she gave it credit for. Great. Do you have any bandages? I don't want to have French fries with blood on the side. Haley stuck her tongue as if to say yuck, but nodded a yes. Putting down her half peeled potato, she ran to some other part of the house and met an unearthly speed of hers and returned with a kit full of bandages that made Marcy's shoulders drop. The bandages were huge. As a matter of fact, she was sure they were even considered bandages because they were the type of things you would see people at the hospital use after someone got half their stomach stabbed by a knife. Pushing the kit away, Massey said, "I'll just use an napkin and apply pressure to it. Those baby girls are way too big for the cut I have. You'll have to finish peeling the potatoes without me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Haley jumped right into the job. Massey wondered why she was always so willing to do work. It was an admirable quality, especially since she had a tendency to stay away from it unless it benefited her somehow. Why do you guys have these big things? Massey inquired, referring to the bandages. It looks like it's made for some serious injury. As she inspected the kit more thoroughly, she took into account the ointments and other medical supplies not usually found in first aid kits. The boys like to fight really rough, so they often get big cuts. My mom always keeps the kit ready to tend to their wounds. Sometimes she lets me help her. Massey blinked, bewildered. They fight. Why do they hate each other or something? Haley shrugged, unperturbed. Not really. They mostly do it to train, and to see who's stronger. Okay, typical male. No matter where I've moved to, and trust me, I've moved to like 30 different places, the guys are always competing to show who's better. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Never to the point of injuries like these, but since your family looks stronger and bigger than the norm, I guess it makes sense. Done, 𝐊𝐲 chirped. 𝐊𝐲 rose and sure enough the girl was done peeling all the potatoes. 𝐿 turned the fryer on. 𝐊𝐲 plugged the electrical fryer and turned the heat to a reasonable temperature. Okay, throw M in. 𝐊𝐲 looked at the fryer. I think we should wait until the oil heats up. Feeling rather stupid, 𝐊𝐲 agreed. Very true. 𝐊𝐲 took the rutschkin she had placed at the corner of the counter to thaw as they focused on the fries. She expertly began to cut the chicken into pieces, separating the legs from the wigs and so forth. 𝐊𝐲 had to hand it to the girl. She looked like a total pro. Jaden definitely was not lying when he told her she was good. 𝐊𝐲 paid attention to how the girl cut the chicken, deciding she would memorize that and try to do it at home. Truth was, she felt a bit embarrassed an 8-year-old girl could do things that she at 17 could not do. Growing up in a house of cooking women, Sebastian probably wanted a girl who could cook too. She'd have to definitely improve on that once 𝐊𝐲 got to the seasoning. However, 𝐊𝐲 was completely lost. What the heck was all of that? The only thing she could recognize was garlic and salt. The rest were an assortment of spices that left 𝐊𝐲 deciding she would probably look up something online when she attempted this at home. 𝐿 fried the chicken first. If we do the fries first, they'll be cold by the time the chicken is ready. 𝐊𝐲 gave her the go. A head wave. After dousing them with flour and neatly placing the chicken in the fryer, 𝐊𝐲 grabbed 𝐊𝐲's hand and inspected the cut. What 𝐊𝐲 didn't expect. 𝐊𝐲 𝐊𝐲 heartfelt thanks 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐼𝐬𝐼𝐬𝐼𝐬𝐼 was her face of astonishment. 𝐊𝐲 heartfelt thanks 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐼𝐬𝐼𝐬𝐼. Is it infected or something? Ugh, I knew I should have put some alcohol. 𝐊𝐲 grumbled, grabbing the bottle from the �Kitchen swab. 𝐊𝐲 shook her head. No, it's not that. Why isn't it healed yet? 𝐊𝐲 neared the alcohol-fused swab her cut, only to pig out and move it away. What do you mean? It stopped bleeding. Swallowing her fear, she took a deep breath and quickly rubbed the inflicted area, but not without releasing a squeak. When I get hurt, usually the cut is gone in a few minutes. That's because you're young. As people get older, things get harder to heal. So I've heard. Come, 𝐊𝐲 replied, pensive. You better go check on that fried chicken. I expect only the best from the great chef 𝐊𝐲 Fulton. 𝐊𝐲 prompted, giving her a wink. 𝐊𝐲 stood straighter and gave her a big smile. Right on. 𝐿𝐲𝐷𝐷𝐺𝐻𝐻. The food ended up tasting better than any fast food place she had ever ordered from. The girl had talent. It was no wonder Jaden was taking her under his wing. After eating, the girls entertained themselves watching movies. They first watched a romantic movie 𝐊𝐲 said the adults saw, but she hadn't had the opportunity to see because it was her bedtime. However, when the movie got to suggestive parts where 𝐊𝐲 knew it was going to lead to something an 8-year-old should definitely not see, she played the board role and suggested a PG-rated movie. Poor 𝐊𝐲. If only she knew they purposely played it after her bedtime. To my agent extraordinaire, 𝐊𝐲. Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. They each took turns taking showers. 𝐊𝐲 dressed in her wolf-themed footed pajamas, and 𝐊𝐲 changed into the conservative two-piece she usually saved for the cold winter. And she was at strangers' house. She couldn't walk around in short shorts and belly showing tank tops that would probably give the adults the idea she was some hoochie mama. Not a good impression. Even if they weren't here, one couldn't be too careless. Follow me. I have my own room. 𝐊𝐲 began leading her through an array of halls and then downstairs, where the air had more chill. Most people share rooms. To my agent extraordinaire, 𝐊𝐲. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It would make sense. 1 million people left the house earlier. Mommy says that since I'm a girl, I get my own room. Finally reaching a door, 𝐊𝐲 opened it and entered, holding 𝐊𝐲's hand and pulling her inside. The room was just as 𝐿𝐼𝐸 thought it would be. It was painted pink with a decorative purple flower behind her mattress. Her bedding was of the beautiful Princess Sleeping Beauty, and on her soft white carpet at the edge of the room, Barbies laid muddled together. Some were without clothes, while others wore stylish clothes. You can see her boobs. Oh, what happened with the two cherries? Massey gazed at the dolls, disconcerted. Had they always looked like that? Now that she thought of it, it was her who had added the obvious woman traits with a marker on her Barbie's chest after seeing her mom come out the shower without a towel. I left it in my room, she had said, screaming from behind her. She remembered being 5 when that happened. Do you need to sleep with the light on? 𝐿𝐼𝐸 asked. Massey giggled and ushered the young one to the bed. No, I never needed one. Even when I was younger. For some reason the dark never scared me. After 𝐿𝐼𝐸 was situated, Massey slipped in beside her. Good night, Massey. 𝐿𝐼𝐸 gave her a strong hug, bringing a smile on Massey's face, just as she had expected. 𝐿𝐼𝐸 was every bit as sweet throughout the entire day. Good night, honey. Sweet dreams. 𝐿𝐼𝐸 mumbled a "you" before closing her eyes. To Massey's surprise, the little one knocked out much quicker than she expected her to. Usually they took centuries to sleep. She remembered how Lydia was at that age. Massey felt herself relax with the soothing warmth oozing off of 𝐿𝐼𝐸. After today she felt more at ease about the place, and hoped she would be babysitting 𝐿𝐼𝐸 more often. The girl was an amazing cook and she secretly hoped to learn some tricks from her. And second, she was so adorable, smart and sweet. It proved wrong everything everyone had said about her, which made her wonder what it was that scared all the previous sitters off. Either way, it gave her the opportunity she had now, and she was glad for that. I get to see the Massey I've heard so much about. Massey pondered on what exactly they had told me and the rest of the family about her. After only knowing the cult for less than a month, she must have made an impression to have them speak to the elders about her. Not to mention she was offered a job at the famous Dark Force diner, and even became friends with the guys girls had been vying to be friends since preschool. Well, all except Sebastian, of course, but he would be catch up with the rest of them in due time. After she got through that cold exterior of his, she'd be lying if she said she didn't like a challenge. And Sebastian was exactly that. Nothing was holding her back. Even his mother was encouraging the relationship, something Massey would fully take advantage of. But again, why her? Why was she given all of these opportunities while others had more difficulty? Finding no explanation, Massey smirked. She was just that amazing. 14 guilty eyes. Massey and 𝐿𝐼𝐸 fell asleep, each cuddling to the other's form. Massey's arm was under 𝐿𝐼𝐸's neck, and the little girl's arm draped over Massey's waist. Their serene faces expressed only peace and comfort. This was how Kristen found them, and seeing them so she could not bring herself to wake Massey at 5 a.m. And how are they all? Mandy gasped at seeing them so well situated. Looks like we found ourselves a permanent babysitter. She leaned against the cool wall and stifled a rising yawn, in debating whether I should wake her up or not. Kristen related, referring to Massey, as if hearing her name. Massey squirmed. Mandy waved a hand. No, let them sleep. Massey brought all her stuff with her. She came prepared to sleep over. What difference does a few hours do? After contemplating, Kristen nodded. Kristen closed the door gently to not disturb them, and after sharing farewells with Mandy, went to her own habitation. 𝐿𝐼𝐸 crap. Massey threw the covers off her form and sat up with a start, only to lay back down when her head became dizzy with the sudden movement. It was 11 a.m. Not only was it 11 a.m., but she was at the wrong house. Why didn't anyone bother to wake her up? Glancing beside her, she saw even 𝐿𝐼𝐸 awoke before her. Massey rubbed her eyes, blinking away the sleepiness that threatened to overtake her. She had always been a late sleeper, especially on the weekends, where waking at 1 p.m. was her usual. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Ever since the weekend, she woke up early to accompany her friend from a previous school with community service. She saw the perks of waking up early. The day actually lasted longer. And two, she didn't awake with half as much hunger. Grabbing her bag, she went into 𝐊𝐲's bathroom and did her usual morning rituals, which served to shake her from her drowsiness. She wore the same clothes she sported when she came to the house yesterday, seeing as she expected to be home by now and at the time found it unnecessary to bring an extra set of clothes to change into. Stepping out of 𝐊𝐲's room, the smell of pancakes and eggs has altered her senses. She followed the enticing scent, and as expected it led her to the kitchen where 𝐊𝐲 had made dinner the night before. She found a familiar group of boys seated around a table. Numerous pancakes were stacked, one on top of the other, accompanied by various plates full scrambled eggs and ham. "Morning, Massie," chirped 𝐊𝐲, who was frying eggs. Beside her, Jaden was busy as well, making another batch of pancakes. "Good morning. I see the amazing chef is up doing her magic again." Massie gave her a quick kiss on the forehead. "And I see dreaming beauty has awakened from her deep sleep," said Jordan, his mouth full of pancakes. "Finish chewing before you open your mouth," suggested Jaden, calm as he began another pancake. Massie joined them in their laughter. Surrounding the table was James, Jordan, Noah, and Micah. Feeling at ease, she took the empty seat between Jordan and Noah. "As much as I love being compared to my favorite princess." In sure, the movie was named Sleeping Beauty, not Dreaming, Massie corrected. She grabbed a plate and served herself the contents on the table. "Why is she your favorite?" "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Genuinely curious. His short mohawk waltzed in the usual gelled perfection she was accustomed to seeing when he was out in public. "She's the prettiest, and she has the handsomest prince," which was definitely true. Cinderella's hair was too short, Jasmine's too long, and Belle, well, her beast didn't look any better in human form. "I watched all the Disney princess movies, and the princes all looked the same." Micah lifted a brow. "And why did you watch all the movies?" James gave a brief nod in his sister's direction. Micah gave him no sympathy and opted to chuckle instead. "I think that's really cute," Massie commented, patting his hand from across the table. "Which, speaking of sleeping, why didn't anyone bother to wake me up?" Jordan smirked. "You said it yourself. Bother? Why would anyone bother themselves?" Massie gave him a glare and bumped his shoulder, making him drop his fork on the floor. This time she smirked as he was forced to get up and get a new one. "KH, you think you woke up late? Go check 𝐾𝐿, see what she's doing," Noah said. He followed by eating the rest of her eggs with one swoop of his fork. "Hey," she protested, smacking his head. He smiled sheepishly. "Sorry, I thought you weren't going to eat them." James rolled his eyes, disbelieving. "No, you just like to eat food that's not on your plate. The food tastes very delicious, by the way," she commented, directing it towards 𝐊𝐲 and Jaden. Jaden was unaffected by her praise, while 𝐊𝐲 on the other hand beamed. Massie watched the way he expertly flipped the pancake. From personal experience, she knew it was harder than it looked. He was probably used to getting compliments on his cooking. Massie only wished one day she could cook half as good pancakes as these. The boys rose from their seats and placed their dirty plates in the sink. Massie did just as well. Already full. Looking at the breakfast-filled table, she wondered if more people were coming, seeing as there was an insane amount of pancakes left. "Are you going home?" asked Jaden. Massie noticed how, as he flipped the pancake, his free hand was in the pocket of his sweats. He looked so laid back it was worthy of envy. How on earth could someone look so at ease? She was great when it came to hiding her sadness or anger, but she could only hide it with indifference. "Never ease. Kicking me out already." Massie leaned against the counter and thought about the things she had to do today, which consisted of nothing, and nothing. Now that she thought about it, Dark Falls wasn't like the usual town she lived in before. Weekends were the days reserved for parties. But here people were more conservative. I was hoping you could do the dishes. He gave her a small smile, wide enough so that his dimples became visible. Mercy melted in his cuteness and found herself quickly saying, "No problem." Jaden nodded in appreciation and gave her some gloves. As Mercy did the dishes, more and more people started appearing. The little ones more specifically, who appeared big enough to be in middle school but turned out to be in elementary school. "Where are the girls?" Mercy questioned, curiosity getting the best of her. Aside from the aunts and uncles she met yesterday and of course Kristen and Haley, she had yet to see any other females. Before answering, Jaden's gaze rose to the ceiling. Pensive. When his eyes faced her he had a smirk on his lips. Around, Kristen entered the busy kitchen and rolled her eyes at Jaden, having overheard the conversation. Too lazy to even answer a question, she shook her head, bemused. Jaden shrugged, not knowing what to say. Or maybe, like Kristen said, he was too lazy to say anything at all. She directed her attention to Mercy. "Me and the other girls already ate. We're outside practicing. Sadly, this is a male-dominated house. You're free to take as many of these bums as you want. 𝐿𝐸𝐵, your love is so endearing." Jaden edged, turning off the stove. After placing the last batch of his pancakes on the table, which as a result of the round of boys was currently near empty, he came beside Mercy and helped her finish pile of dishes threatening to look something akin to the Twin Towers. After their destruction, "You're too generous, Kristen. If I were to seriously take you up on that offer, I'm afraid it'd take most of them." 𝐿𝐸𝐵, Jaden for cooking, James for studies, Noah for laughter, Jordan for fun, and Sebastian for a husband. "Oh yes, sounds like a good deal to me," she responded, sincere. "By the way, sorry for not waking you up after we came back. You and Haley were sleeping so peacefully I didn't want to bother." Kristen grabbed a towel and began drying the rinsed plates. "Don't worry about it. Even if you had awakened me, I can assure you I would have remained in bed. Sleeping is one of best hobbies." Mercy gave her a wink and they both happily continued washing the dishes. 𝐿𝐸𝐻𝐷𝐷𝐷, Mercy smiled. She had never seen anyone this handsome in her life. He looked so perfect, even when he was doing house chores. Tiny beads of sweat formed on his forehead and on the contours of his abs, because of course he had to take his shirt off. And she was not complaining. His strong arms flexed as he pushed the machine forward, displaying his muscles to their full glory. Most girls went for pretty boys, but somehow those boys with beautiful faces never fazed her. She liked handsome boys, with features that would scream them. Those who had a few days' worth of stubble and didn't come to school with a look that said, "I just spent 3 days doing my hair." She liked those manly men. That way she could look all the more feminine and beautiful. Sebastian fit into all of that and more. "Close your mouth, baby, case we don't want any flies to get in. We are in a highly dense forest," advised Jordan, coming up behind her and snapping her jaws closed. Mercy blushed, which was a feat seeing as she rarely ever did so. But this was so embarrassing. If I had any doubt on who you liked before, now I'm certain my hunch was right on the spot. To make matters more embarrassing, Noah laughed from a distance. His laugh loud and totally obnoxious, just as his mother said it was. Mercy narrowed her eyes. "How did you hear that?" Mercy had to admit, if it were not her she would be laughing too. Noah gave her a wide smile. "I got these super ears. Can't hide anything from me." His eyebrows wiggled as he made kissing noises. "Come on, little missin', infatuated with Sebastian. The car's ready." Mercy stared out the window, mortified. Never in her life had she been so grateful to a lawnmower for being so loud. She was sure Sebastian had not heard a peep out any of this conversation. Being a gentleman, Jordan grabbed Mercy's bag and led her out the door, laughter escaping his lips. "Relaxing." Mercy giggled as well. "What's a girl to do? You take 15 hours to get your car from wherever you parked it. and �K�EMI was left bored to stare out a window. Guilty as charged. Jordan threw the bag in the back seat and sat himself next to Noah in the front. Mercy allowed herself to give Sebastian one last glance before she hopped in the back, never to see him in that perfect state of attire for who knows how long. To her surprise, Sebastian met her wondering eyes with a pair of his own. One thing you should know about Marcy is her amazing eyesight. Every doctor said so, and perhaps it was because she rarely ever spent time watching television, surfing the net, or reading a book. This is the reason she didn't miss the little smirk that appeared on his ruby lips. Feeling another blush rise, she quickly hid herself in the car, well aware that Sebastian had heard every word of the conversation. 15 kissed twice. Mercy and Sebastian sitting in a tree. 𝐾𝐼𝐮𝐬. First comes love, then comes Jordan. Mercy smacked his head with her manicured right hand. Having returned home Saturday from the 𝐾𝐞𝐽 estate with more time than she cared to spare, she decided to distract herself with activities she usually went to the salon to do, one of them being her nails. Secretly, she did them because she imagined herself and Sebastian holding hands in the near future. Why not get ready for the role of the gorgeous girlfriend now? Jordan snickered at her annoyance and replied with something he knew would get her even more worked up. I hope you know Sebastian is aware of your googling yesterday. And it's not because Noah opened his mouth to the entire family during dinner. 𝐷𝐻's eyes widened like saucers. No way. In front of everyone. Mercy covered her face with her hands. Mortified duck. Noah and his big mouth. Now the entire family probably thought she was crazy for Sebastian, which now that she thought about it was not far from the truth. But still, Jordan pat her shoulder for comfort. Don't worry. Everyone thought it was adorable. Especially Mia. She was really happy. Needless to say, she really likes you. Mercy found it in herself to give a slight smile despite everything. Nevertheless, she doubted she could ever step a foot into that house anytime soon. She hoped they were the type of people that forgot things easily. What did Sebastian say? Feeling curious of his response. She had already known Sebastian heard every bit of her window encounter by the slight smirk he wore just before she entered the car. But she wondered what he said after hearing Noah's proclamation. I know. Mercy rolled her eyes. A typical Sebastian response. How did I not assume he would say something with 2 words? Jordan gave her a kiss on the cheek. That, my friend, is a good luck kiss. You'll need it if you'll be going after him. He joked, shaking his head as if to said she was doing Mission Impossible. Mercy sighed. She knew Sebastian was a tough catch, but she didn't care. No matter what guy stood in her way, she always won in the end. Next time you give me a kiss, do it in front of my friends. I want them to be way jealous. Her eyes gleamed as she thought of Emily's look when she saw one of the cult boys kiss her. Gladly. I almost thought you were going to say Sebastian to make him jealous. Mercy nodded a negative. That would be way too obvious. And I can't make Sebastian jealous if he doesn't like me yet. All I'd be doing is making myself unavailable. Besides, you can't make a guy jealous with one of his family members. That's just wrong. I'm not related to Sebastian. Only Noah is his cousin. Jordan propped his feet over her thighs and leaned back on his chair, smiling with content in his comfortable position. Despite it being calculus, Mr. Seaman had to depart from school unexpectedly, leaving them with a substitute teacher and no classwork. It was the perfect day to have a free period, seeing as it was Monday. Why do you guys all live at a house together? Are your families close friends or something? They all seemed tightly knit when I went. Mercy remembered how they all spoke to each other with strong familiarity. Despite them all being related, they appeared like a family to her. Something like that. It's complicated. She noticed how he pursed his lips, as if he couldn't find the right words to express their situation. Okay. Mercy shrugged the matter away, not wanting him to be in discomfort. The relationship she was beginning to have with the cult was deepening, but there was no need to rush it. In time she'd know everything she wanted to know about them. 𝐿𝐢𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝. Mercy stepped inside her social studies class and boldly sat behind a seat that belonged to Sebastian. She decided that although Sebastian got a small hint of her feelings from the window horror, she could still try the first friends then lovers tactic. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐞𝐫𝐬 𝐊𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐾𝐈𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐙𝐑𝐐𝐈𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 which made Marcy guess that was her "don't mess with me" face. However, despite her attempts to appear intimidating, her lack of height threw it all to the trash. Marcy looked at her feet. Oh my, and flats with heels. Marcy gave her one of her neutral smiles. Sorry, Kaylee, is it? Layla, she replied, annoyed and clearly hurried to get her seat. Yes, how could I forget? Sorry, but Mr. Barman said he wanted you and I to switch seats. Apparently Sebastian Pierce is too much of a distraction to you that you can't pay attention in class. He thinks him better for the spot. The light effortlessly flew her lips. Layla's eyes blazed with fire. Marcy shrugged. His words, not my nug. It's not fair. I am speaking to him about this, she cried, ready to argue. By now most of the students had entered the class and Marcy knew she had to finish this before things got out of hand. I don't suggest you do that. How embarrassing would it be if in front of the whole class that Sebastian he argued with you? If he reads past notes out loud, what makes you think he won't let the whole class hear how you look at Sebastian all period? Marcy gave her the most concerned look she could muster, and she could see how the realization impacted Layla. Layla seemed to be debating the issue in her head, but in the end the embarrassment of the whole class learning of her affections for Sebastian won over. Marcy gave herself an imaginary pat on the back when she saw Layla sit in her previous seat. She hadn't planned on lying her way through the ideal seat, but the outcome was necessary. This is what you call beauty and brains. When Sebastian entered the classroom and saw her seated in the seat behind him, he didn't as much as blink. But Marcy expected that. At least from here she had more of a chance to converse with him if the chance arrived. But for today she was definitely focusing in class. Staring at a person all period was freaky. She had experienced it before firsthand. She almost giggled when she remembered the story Jordan told her about the girl in calculus. Marcy cowled and denied she liked Sebastian, but she was definitely going to be smart about it. Good afternoon, class, greeted Mr. Barman, entering the classroom. Friday we finished covering the 3rd chapter and I gave you all review package to complete over the weekend for the test we have tomorrow on all 3 chapters. You have this period to ask me any questions you didn't understand or to finish it. Marcy gazed at him dumbfounded. She opened her global folder and sure enough she found a review package. Terrific, Marcy mumbled sarcastically, especially after flipping through the pages and seeing she hadn't done a thing. There goes magnificent Monday. I know. Who does homework on the weekends? Marcy turned to face the unfamiliar voice. Straight black hair fell just above his wide dark eyes that defined him as Asian. She smiled and pulled out package. I did absolutely nothing. How on earth am I supposed to finish this in 1 period? The boy took out his package as well to show that he, too, didn't do as much as write his name on it. It appears we're in the same boat. Immerse. Beginning introductions. She hadn't noticed there were cute boys in the classroom. Then again, she hadn't exactly been looking. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐀 I see you've upgraded your seat from the terribles, he mentioned, nodding towards the 2 girls who sat behind her previous seat. Marcy giggled as she remembered how they made known every single action Sebastian did. Actually, they were incredibly entertaining. You should have heard what they talked about on Thursday. One of them said, I find it hard to believe you 2 are completely done with today's class assignment, said Mr. Barman, stepping in between them. Please refrain from idle conversation until all work is done. Is that clear? Yes, sir, they answered. Marcy grudgingly faced the package in front of her. She didn't have a problem with homework, but it bothered her that she actually had time to do it over the weekend. Had she remembered it would have been finished. But now the dreadful thing stared at her when in reality, she just wanted to have a free period and speak to Kai like she'd spoke into Jordan in calculus. Massey glanced at Sebastian and noticed that unlike most of the class, he was hunched over doing work. "You did all of it?" Loud enough for him to hear. "Yes," he answered. Massey waited for him to say something else. She sighed when the conversation ended there. Couldn't he give her something to work with? The period seemed endless, but thankfully by the time the bell rang she was done with the entire thing. No way she was going home with homework. At least over the weekend she didn't have work at the diner. But today she did, and she knew she would be too exhausted to let her mind do any thinking. By the time she gathered her things, Sebastian was already out the door, but at least Kai said goodbye before leaving, which made her forget that. In the hall she caught sight of her friends and went to join them. "Hello ladies." "Hey Mars, where were you this weekend?" questioned Emma, giving her a hug. "What are you talking about?" 𝐼𝐸's eyebrows quirked. Interested. She would be so annoyed if she missed a party because she was definitely doing a whole lot of nothing in her house. "The Dark Falls Diner. We were all working but we didn't see you there," clarified Lucy. Massey noticed how today she straightened her big curls and raked her hands through her hair. She had always wanted curly hair, but instead she got hair that barely waved, and that was only when she scrunched it. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐳 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐳 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. They didn't tell me to work on weekends. Recalling Kristen S. words when she was telling her about her schedule, Emily smirked. "It's very fast-paced in the weekends, and the diner closes much later too. Maybe they thought you couldn't handle it." Massey rolled her eyes. "My goodness, even when she does this girl a favor she can't stop from being spiteful." Suddenly, she caught sight of Noah and left without warning. "Noah," she called, trying to catch his attention. Hearing her voice, Noah turned and gave her one of his charming smiles. But after seeing the way her eyes narrowed, it clicked what she was really after. By the time realization hit him, it was too late to run, and already she was pulling harshly at his sensitive ear. 𝐊𝐸𝐳𝐳 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐳 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He mumbled, wincing. Massey released his ear, satisfied. "I heard of the great fun you had during family dinner." Noah smiled bashfully as he caressed his abused ear. "I couldn't help it. It was too funny not to tell." Massey crossed her arms, but by now she wasn't even angry about it. Noah could tell and put an arm around her shoulders to completely settle the waters. "I say that as a recompense you treat me to some ice cream. I saw this place near the diner that sells ice cream, but I always forget to stop by." Noah nodded. "Anything for the princess." At that moment Jordan appeared and gave her a quick kiss on the cheek before continuing on to his class. Massey laughed, now remembering what Shed told him to do during calculus. From a distance he gave her a wink before turning a corner towards lunch, where the cult was headed. Knowing how they tended to stick in their secluded groups, Massey detached herself from Noah and let him join them, but not before he himself gave her a kiss on the other cheek. She had to admit this made her feel special, because now she got to kisses, whereas she planned one. 𝐊𝐸𝐳𝐳 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐳 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She went back to join her friends. "Come on guys, let's go to lunch," Massey prompted, leading the way. "You're so lucky. I wish one of them gave me a kiss," gushed Lucy. She appeared to be more excited than Massey was. "Me too," agreed Emma, interlacing arms. She had a dreamy look on her face that made Massey wonder if she had gotten over the slight fear she had over them in the beginning. Angry with the attention Massey was getting, Emily went on ahead of them, but not before giving Massey one of her glares. The purple eye beauty merely ignored her and remained calmed. There was nothing Emily could do to dampen her mood, especially since she was guaranteed free ice cream. So for now, Emily could kiss her 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐳. 16 okay? So a number 8 with iced tea? Massey asked, repeating the customer's order to make sure it was exactly what they wanted. After seeing the girl nod an affirmative, Massey went to the next table to get 2 orders in one go. Sebastian wasn't working today, So unlike the day before, she didn't have the luxury of not carrying heavy trays or seeing his handsome face for that matter. However, after seeing Emma, Lucy, and Emily working on their own, she found some sort of motivation to do the job by herself. It wasn't as bad as she remembered it being. Had she really been that out of shape? Not that she was now, but at least her muscles could hold up much longer without complaint than it could before. Mercy checked the time and smiled. Yeah, she definitely hadn't lasted this long. The clock showed it was nearing 7, and last week when the clock was nearing 6 she thought she was going to die. Then again, she had always been dramatic. After sending the orders to Jaden, she could see from the corner of her eyes the way her 3 friends went into the employee room. During lunch they had discussed their working schedule, and she learned that although they were obliged to work on the weekends, Mercy was obliged to work on all weekdays until the diner closed, while they only had to work until 7. The diner bell rang, signaling that someone had entered the diner. Normally, Mercy wouldn't have even paid mind, seeing as the bell seemed to act like a clock sound that would constantly ring in this popular chill spot. However, the person who entered had a tall and imposing demeanor, making her impossible to ignore. Chestnut hair fell perfectly around a heart, sheep-faced, a face defined by delicate features. Her body, nevertheless, showed she was anything but. She was wearing a lovely red skirt that showed off her well-toned legs and perky behind. It was obvious she worked out, and by the time she entered the employee room, Mercy realized she'd seen her before. What's her name again? Mercy struggled to remember her name. Ugh, why did she have to have such bad luck when it came to memorizing names? 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐶𝐞𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐀𝐥𝐻𝐬. Do you know where the ketchup is? 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐶𝐞𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐀𝐥𝐻𝐬. Mercy shouted, finally recalling the girl's name. The customer stared at her, confused. Mercy cleared her throat and pointed to the right. The ketchup is that way. You'll find it at the edge of the table near the napkins. Following her finger, the customer went on her merry way. Mercy blinked. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐶𝐞𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐻𝐬. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐻𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐻𝐬. How on earth could she have forgotten her name? Aside from the fact that she was a total BYOTCH on Mercy's first day of school, she also happened to be Sebastian's best girlfriend. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐻𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐻𝐬. Having heard all the gossip and about how they never kissed, Mercy was confident there had to be some fault in the relationship. As far as she knew, if they never kissed, then they never went out. Keisha came out the room wearing a uniform identical to the one Mercy wore, and to Mercy's disdain her curves were actually evident with the less and flattering dress. Mercy sighed. She would just have to deal with the fact that although she had a nice body, she was lacking a bit in the hips area. After taking a customer's order, she felt foolish for even thinking that. She wasn't used to seeing girls as competition. Usually the pretty ones already had boyfriends, so the boy she wanted was easily hers to take. She remembered how last week during study hall she caught her and Sebastian having a private conversation when she was on her way to the library. Keisha almost kissed him, as her memory so recalled, but Sebastian stopped her before things could get any further. Mercy would be lying to herself if she said she was curious to know where exactly their relationship stood, but at least she was content to know it was clearly nothing serious, because if it had been Sebastian's mother wouldn't have openly encouraged a relationship between her and her son. Mercy felt a subtle smash against her shoulder, and when she looked up her eyes clashed with deep blue orbs that gazed at her with a clear look of dislike. Keisha went to an area completely opposite to hers and started taking orders. Mercy rolled her eyes. Great. It was just her luck that Ms. Bitchy worked in the same place as her. She should have expected it, seeing as the cult practically owned the diner and worked whenever they want to. Aside from Jaden and Kristen, the others worked sporadically. Did they even have a true schedule? Thankfully, Haley chose that time to enter the diner as well, brightening her mood. The affection was not one-sided, for when Haley caught sight of her, she ran to Marcy with a huge smile on her face and engulfed her in a tight hug. "Hey, Hale," Marcy greeted, patting her head. "Can I be your special helper again?" Haley's warm brown eyes looked up at her, pleading. "Of course, baby girl. Let's get right to it." Haley beamed and energetically began her previous job. Marcy only smiled. I wondered why Haley always wanted to help. It seemed the little cutie cow didn't stand still for too long without going nuts. The rest of the night went smoothly, and by the time her shift ended, her feet hurt. One of the things she failed to notice about waitresses is that they hardly ever sat down. There was always an order to take or a table to clear off. It was tiring, but she had to admit she loved the feeling of a successful workday. Not to mention she was excited to get her first paycheck sometime this week. First thing she'd do is treat herself to a well-deserved shopping day. Or should she go to a spa? Marcy heard him before she saw him. Jaden began cleaning the table off the booth she was currently laying on, and she eyed his every move, daring him to move his eyes to a place he liked to frequently visit. As always, his face lacked emotion, but she could tell he was aware of her watching by the way a slow smile began to take shape. "You are staring at me," he pointed out, collecting the leftover residue of food dropped by customers. "I am," Marcy confirmed, closing her eyes now that Jaden was done with the booth. When she didn't hear the expected footsteps of his leaving, her lids snapped open. "Oh my goodness. Jaden, stop staring at my Venus." Almost immediately an obnoxious laughter mixed with an almost as obnoxious laughter filled the diner. Marcy sat up and was not surprised to see the two fools she liked to call her friends. When the heck had they gotten in here? Figures Noah and Jordan would come help when all the customers had retired to their homes and the only thing left to do was clean the tables along with a few leftover dishes. Marcy was just thankful Haley left with James a few minutes ago, lest she hear her abrupt outburst. "Sorry," Jaden apologized, leveling his eyes with hers. Marcy crossed her arms and gazed at him suspiciously. She believed him when he said he was thinking sexually, but she was going to go crazy if she didn't find out why he kept staring at her unit. "I want to know now," Marcy demanded, standing up to her true height in front of Jaden. It didn't help as much as she expected it to. She forgot that with these boys she wasn't exactly considered tall. "Coming to Jaden's rescue," Noah said. "Don't worry, babe. Jaden wants to be a gynecologist when he grows up, so your Venus naturally interests him in a scientific way." Marcy rolled her eyes, not believing a word he said. She pushed Noah away in an attempt to get him out of the conversation, but it was futile. Noah didn't move an inch and instead she found herself over his shoulder headed in the direction of the diner's door. "Hey, I left my clothes and my bag," Marcy protested, hitting Noah's back. "I'll get it for you," volunteered Jordan. He went into the employee room and somehow managed to find her things with a quickness she'd never seen before. When Noah finally put her down, Marcy crossed her arms and tucked D. "They'll find out eventually why Jaden keeps staring. You're only stalling. And since you both have taken the liberty to fully release me of my shift, you'll have the obligation to take me home." Without waiting for an agreement from any of them, she went to their parked cart and sat her and her things in the back seat. If she was going to win an honest answer, she might as well get herself a free ride rather than bothering herself by ordering a taxi. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." It was only fair. She was going to waste her time asking questions. She had a deep feeling she'd find out eventually. She was Marcy Wilton, and as such things would definitely turn her way. It was only upon completing her quick 15-minute study on the chapters for her history class that Marcy allowed herself to have complete satisfaction. When she came home from the Dark Falls diner, she was met with the delicious smell of diner, and after indulged herself in a much-needed shower to get rid of all the knots from work. Feeling more relaxed, she was able to finish her few homework assignments and even study a bit for tomorrow's test. She definitely disliked studying, but she disliked even more the thought of anyone thinking she wasn't smart. Marcy grabbed her school things and began organizing them in her bag. Just as she finished placing them in a favored position, she noticed a red book at the very bottom. Remembering how she checked it out from the school library during her free period, she pulled it out with anticipation. It wasn't necessarily a book, as it was a diary. The diary of Jeanette, to be more specific. Marcy recalled reading the first journal entry and learning that Jeanette entered a new school and was given noticeable attention by the two hottest guys, Eric and Kyle. Marcy jumped on her bed and sat comfortably to read the following entries. Dear Diary, I didn't do it. I swear. I'm such a chicken. After promising myself that I would go up to them and know why they kept following me, I backed out last minuet. Mind you, it's not nearly as easy as I thought. I kept thinking of how awkward the conversation would be if I confronted them. Marcy nodded her head in agreement. She too hated awkward situations. Elizabeth, one of my friends asked me why they often stare at me. I didn't know how to answer the question, so I just shrugged and looked away. An hour later, I overheard her talking with her friends, telling them I had told her that I had them both as lovers. I'm just thankful that this is my last year of school, and in a few months I'll get out of this place. I can't stand it, Jean. Flipping the page, Marcy noticed how unlike her previous entries. Her handwriting in this one was neat. It was almost as if she was trying to get all her thoughts on paper before they flew away. Dear Diary, how can I express to you everything that I've seen today? I have no idea where to begin. It's all so much. Too much. Could it be that I was hallucinating? They say that if you don't get proper sleep, you begin to hallucinate things that don't exist. But I'll be honest, because I know that what I saw wasn't a hallucination. It was very, very real. After school I did my usual walk home, but Elizabeth and her friends were walking many steps behind me, and with time the distance between us shortened. I quickened my steps, and theirs did also. I was hoping that the rumors I heard in school were just that, rumors. Apparently they were not, because at that moment I knew with utmost certainty that Elizabeth and her friends were going to beat me up. I know their dislike for me is undeserved, but the attention I get from the boys has made them jealous to the point of hurting me. In spur of things, I ran into the forest, which thankfully, after seeing my geared direction, hadn't bothered to follow me anymore. What I hadn't expected, though, was to find Kyle there as well. He was a few meters away from me, and I only saw his back. I hid behind a big tree so he wouldn't take notice of me, already feeling out of place. At the moment I wondered why on earth he was in the forest alone. Just as I was about to leave, what happened before me stole my breath. To my 𝐊𝐢𝐳 𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It looked like he was bending over, but then bones protruded from places they never should, and in moments what was once before a boy was now a wolf. 𝐊𝐲𝐬𝐳 is a werewolf, and there's no doubt in my mind that Eric is one as well. I am not jesting. Marcy Ray read the paragraph and bit her lip. Carl turned into a wolf. She remembered the conversation she had with James in the library, and how he mentioned Dark Falls diaries were full of supernatural events. No one knew what to believe, and Marcy found herself in the same box. To believe, or not to believe. Deciding to leave her thoughts for later, she returned to the book at hand. Never in my life have I been so afraid as I was in that moment. In his wolf form, he turned around and looked directly towards me, and I swear to you that I saw a glint in his eyes. He knew from the beginning that I was there, and he very much wanted me to see his change. Then, he ran the opposite direction, to a destination I could only wish to know. Knowing that Kyle and Eric are werewolves makes me uneasy. If I didn't have the guts to face them before, then I definitely don't now. I dread going to school tomorrow, having to face a group of girls who detest me, and a pair of boys who curiously gaze at me. What is it about me that intrigues them so? A question with an answer I'll never know. Wish me luck. Jean. Marcy closed the diary, unable to read any more. Not because it wasn't interesting, but because at the mention of werewolves her mind kept going back to Cinnamon, her late-night friend. Glancing at the clock, she noted it was late and smiled. Late enough that everyone in the house was sleeping except for her. Late enough that she could sneak out. Grabbing a pair of socks and some shoes, she prepared herself to go to the park to visit Cinnamon. She had promised to see him after babysitting Haley and didn't get to do so on Sunday. Poor thing probably thought she abandoned him. Regardless, it would be better. Sometimes, you just have to make people miss you. So today would be a surprise visit. Who knows? Maybe he'll catch him transforming into a human. Mercy giggled, still finding the thought of werewolves out of reach. She took a scrunchie from her dresser and tied her hair up. From her window she could tell it was a tad windy outside, and the least she wanted was strands of hair in her mouth. Finally prepared to leave, she sneaked out the house to see the wolf. Her wolf,